Episode 4, the Wraith intro. They say death is not the end, but a doorway, yet some souls do not pass through it. Some linger in the threshold, half alive, half forgotten, drifting between memory and oblivion. These are not spirits of sorrow or wrath, but of longing. And when longing festers, it becomes something else entirely. Tonight, we meet her, the Wraith. She is the whisper between heartbeats, the chill in the air before dawn, the echo that answers when no one is there. The Wraith is not born from hate, but from the unbearable weight of love that could not let go. The woman who would not die. Before she was feared, she was known as Eirwen of the Vale, a mortal woman born in a village where snow never melted, and silence hung as heavy as the clouds that hid the sun. The winters there were long and cruel, and yet she found beauty in the frost. Her home stood at the edge of the woods, where she grew herbs in pots of ice and gathered snowmelt to heal the sick. She was known by all, but truly understood by none. Eirwen's gift was subtle, gentle, patient, like the breath before dawn. She could soothe pain with the warmth of her poems, and with words that sounded more like lullabies than prayers. Mothers brought their children to her when fevers burned too high, and old men whispered her name when death's shadow lingered too near. She never turned anyone away, but what no one saw was the toll her mercy took. Every illness she drew out, every wound she mended, dimmed the color in her cheeks a little more. Each healing left her colder, as though something inside her was quietly fading. When Eirwen slept, she dreamt of shadows of vast white plains where figures wandered, calling her name. Sometimes she awoke with frost on her fingertips, though her hearth burned bright. She told herself it was exhaustion, but deep down, she feared that part of her already belonged to another world. Then came the sickness, a plague without name or mercy. It began with a cough that froze in the lungs, spreading from house to house like wildfire in winter. Within weeks, the Vale was a place of mourning. The priests fled, the hunters vanished, and soon Eirwen stood alone at the heart of a dying village. She did what she always had. She helped. Night and day, she moved from bed to bed, her hands trembling as she whispered blessings into fevered ears. But the sickness was greedy. It devoured her people, her neighbors, her kin. When at last it reached her, she did not run. She simply walked outside into the open snow and lay down beneath the gray sky. She whispered a final prayer, not for herself, but for the souls of those she could not save. And as her breath slowed, she thought she saw lights, faint and flickering, rising from the snow like lanterns. They were beautiful, then silence, but death did not come. When Eirwen opened her eyes, she found the world unchanged yet utterly empty. The cottages stood whole, the snow untouched, the air perfectly still. No sound, no voices, not even the beating of her heart. She called out, but only the wind answered. And when she found the stream, frozen over, she looked down and saw no reflection staring back. That was the moment she understood. Her village was gone, and so was she. Thus was born the first Wraith, not from evil, not from vengeance, but from love too strong to die. The Wraith's curse at first, Eirwen thought she had been chosen. She believed her survival was divine, that she had been spared to comfort those who lingered at death's door. She became a gentle figure in mourning places, appearing beside the dying to whisper peace into their ears. The newly dead saw her first as a pale woman veiled in frost, guiding them through the fog. To them, her presence was mercy. But as decades passed into centuries, something inside her began to wither. The grief she absorbed from others had no place to go. Every sorrow she carried froze within her, layer upon layer, until her heart was encased in ice. Her voice grew thin, echoing like wind through hollow bone. Her hands no longer healed, they chilled. Her warmth was gone. The people she once comforted began to fear her. Her reflection, once faint, vanished entirely. Even the snow beneath her feet refused to hold her shape. Her world became a blur of white and silence, and soon she forgot the sound of her own name. Her legend spread. They called her the Pale Bride, the Frost Widow, the Whisper in the Vale. Travelers who claimed to see her said she appeared when grief was at its peak, when someone's heart broke so completely that the veil between worlds thinned. Her touch could grant peace or steal it, for the Wraith no longer knew the difference between mercy and hunger, and yet she still loved, even when that love hurt, especially then. When the Banshee Maeve heard of her, she wept, for she saw the Wraith as a reflection of what she might one day become. When the demon Azraith learned of her sorrow, he bowed his head, knowing too well what it meant to love beyond reason. But neither could reach her. The Wraith had become something beyond life, beyond even spirit, the embodiment of yearning itself. The man who remembered her centuries later, when her name had faded from memory, a man came seeking her. His name was Eamon Corbin, a scholar of forgotten things. He had spent years studying the veil between life and death, not for fame or power, but for love. His wife Roswyn had died of the same winter sickness that once consumed Eirwen's village. Since that day, he had known no peace. He searched every ruin, every scripture, every whispered tale that hinted of reunion beyond the grave. When he heard of the Wraith of the Snow Vale, he knew where his path must end. Eamon's journey was one of suffering. The mountains clawed at his skin, storms clawed at his mind, and the cold gnawed through his bones. But grief is a stubborn compass. On the seventh night, as the storm broke, he saw her standing at the edge of a frozen lake, her figure barely visible through the mist. "You shouldn't have come," she said. Her voice was soft, but it carried a weight that bent the air around him. "This is no place for the living." Eamon knelt, his tears freezing as they fell. "If you are the keeper of lost souls," he whispered, "then tell me where she is. Tell me where my Roswyn waits." The Wraith tilted her head. For the first time in centuries, something stirred in her: pity, curiosity, perhaps even recognition. She drifted closer, her touch cold but not cruel. "She is beyond reach," she said. "But you are not." "Then take me to her," Eamon pleaded. "Let me see her one last time." The Wraith hesitated. Within her hollow chest, something cracked the faintest sound, like ice thawing. She remembered what it meant to ache, to want. "You do not understand," she whispered. "To walk with me is not to cross into peace. It is to drown in memory." "Then let me drown," he said, and his voice did not waver. The veil of stillness, and so, for the first time in ages, the Wraith took a mortal hand. The world around them dissolved into snow and silence. They entered the Vale of Stillness, a realm where time stood frozen and the souls of the lost wandered like candle flames trapped in glass. The air shimmered with whispers of names, promises, and regrets. The Wraith glided among them, her gown trailing frost, her eyes dim as starlight behind clouds. Eamon saw countless spirits, men and women, children and soldiers, all frozen in the moments they could not forget. It was not heaven. It was not hell. It was memory itself, repeating without end. And then he saw her, Roswyn, whole, smiling as she had in life, her hands outstretched. Eamon ran to her, but with every step, she faded not away from him, but through him like mist. "Eamon," she said softly, "you cannot stay. The longer you remain, the more you will forget who you are." He turned to the Wraith, tears streaking his face. "Why show me this if I cannot have her?" The Wraith's voice broke. "Because I wanted to remember what love was." The breaking of the Wraith, those words unleashed something ancient. The weight of centuries of solitude and sorrow tore through her in a scream that shook the realm itself. Ice shattered. Souls lifted like sparks into the air, finally free from her hold. The snow glowed with their light. Eamon reached for her as she fell to her knees, her form flickering between spirit and shadow. Eirwen! He cried the name spoken like a prayer. The wraith froze. The sound of her name, her true name, rang through her like a heartbeat. How? Do you know that name? She whispered. I found your story, he said, voice trembling. You once healed the dying. You once loved the living. You are not a curse, Eirwen. You are mercy. Her tears fell as snow. For the first time since her death, warmth bloomed beneath her skin, faint, fragile, but real. Mercy, she whispered. Yes, perhaps that is what I was meant to be. She turned to Eamon and smiled, not the hollow curve of a ghost's grin, but a real human smile. Go, mortal. Take my gift with you. Tell them, love need not bind the dead, only remember. And as her hand touched his heart, light bloomed between them, white, pure, and endless. When it faded, Eamon stood alone on the edge of the Vale. The storm was gone, the snow lay untouched. In his chest, a soft warmth pulsed where her fingers had been. He had lived. And the Wraith was gone. The Wraith's legacy, when word reached the other realms, even the demon bowed his head. The Banshee Maeve sang a mourning hymn that echoed across the ghost skies, a song so beautiful that even the stars seemed to weep. For the Wraith, Eirwen of the Vale, had not been destroyed. She had ascended. She became the keeper of memory, the third of the 6 royal ghosts, the spirit of love that frees rather than binds, the guide of the lost, the guardian of the doorway between worlds. It is said that when snow falls without wind, that is her doing, a gentle reminder that even in the coldest silence, there is mercy still. Conclusion and tease, they say even memory can die. But the Wraith proved otherwise. Her gift to the realms was not power or vengeance, but grace, the ability to remember without breaking, yet with every gift comes a cost. And in the shadows left by her light, something else begins to stir. A spirit that laughs when others cry. A creature who turns truth into games. Next time, we descend into the depths where laughter cuts like glass and the truth wears a grin. Next time, we meet the trickster,